Good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Friday. This is so exciting to participate in the Away in a Manger event. So I am going to have a lot of fun this morning painting with you guys. So I want you to just to pop in and say hello, and we'll get started in a minute when people start popping in. It's been fun watching all of the segments so far. Everyone's projects this morning are fabulous, and it's a whole day, you guys. You have all day today for the Away in the Manger theme, and there's so many different interpretations and so many cool creators today. Please stay tuned. I see you guys coming in, and welcome. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning. I hope you're having a good Friday. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to push this over a little bit. Away in the Manger theme. I'm excited because I need to paint some little ornaments myself. I'm going to paint this big piece today, but I did just get a lot of these little wood slice ornaments. So I'm going to paint a little smaller uh, design on here. So Way in the Manger theme, I wanted to do something. Last year in my art membership, I painted this whole nativity scene, which was really fun, but a little bit complicated to try to do it in 45 minutes. So I thought I would narrow it down and do the three wise men. I was working on a sketch last night. And so this is my sketch, and I've just transferred it to my board. Good morning, Mary. This is a thin little board I got at Dollar Tree. I like to have things like this hanging around the studio in case I think of something to paint on it, or for one of my segments here. I'm looking for a little surface. So this is what I'm going to paint on this morning, and I'm going to jump right in because it is a little ambitious. And as you guys know, I always tackle something and usually finish. So we'll do our best. And good morning, Jennifer. Hey, Charlotte. Good morning, guys. I just finished watching Sheila on Sweeties, and I loved that little manger, that little nativity scene she did. I don't have a nativity scene actually, so this is going to be the start of it. Three wise men. We're going to paint it kind of in a simple technique. I'm just using acrylic paint. I have taken this wooden piece. Good morning, Patty. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Please, you guys, it really helps us creators here when you just say good morning, put in an emoji, say, have a little comment. It helps us tremendously. And if you would sprinkle it out to your friends, your creative friends. I just put a real quick coat of gesso on my board just so that the paint wouldn't get absorbed in too much. And I gave it a light sand. Again, just a little Dollar Tree board. And I'm going to start with the background and work forward. That's how I tend to paint. So let's jump into it. I want to do a kind of a, kind of a pinky, kind of a purpley background. We'll put the star up here after. And so let's just jump in. I grab some brushes. I usually like these big hog bristle brushes or something a little wider for my sky. I'm going to work top to bottom. I could very well take the string off, but I'll probably get paint on it, but I'll work around it. Good morning, Deb. New to my page. Thank you so much. I would love it, you guys, if you would just pop over to my page and give me a follow. It really would be fabulous. I love to paint. I love to teach others to paint. I love to teach absolute beginners to paint. You do not have to be born with the talent. I will show you step by step if you have an inkling to want to do some painting to add that to your creative repertoire. So I'm just taking kind of a salmon paint. I'm using just the acrylic craft paint. You guys probably have them. I want a light peachy sky. I'm going to work into purple. Maybe I'll get a little yellow up there. I'm not sure, but I'm just kind of working fast. And I work fast typically so that I can mix my paints kind of on my palette and on my wood piece as I go. I think it looks more natural than deciding on a color and then mixing up the perfect little puddle of paint. I'd rather sort of just jump in and mix as I go so that I have light and dark areas. Looks a little more natural, and it's not so fussy. You don't have to worry about it too much. The acrylic paint does dry fast, but I work a little quickly, trying to make it so that I can blend wet and wet. Good morning, Linda. Thank you. I enjoy having you watch me paint. I love to paint, and I love to paint with people. I just wrapped up a 3-day workshop on my page. We painted 2 lovely landscapes, one fall covered bridge, and one was a winter barn with a vintage truck in front. We had a blast. It was so fun. It's still up if anyone wants to join in. It was just a 3-day workshop, but all recorded. So I've got my pinky sky in there a little bit. I'm going to start working into a little more of kind of a pink, less orangey. And so I work quickly because now you can see how when I've changed colors, if I work quick and this color is still wet, I could blend it really easily, just like that, without having the paint dried. It blends really nicely. The less you think about it, the better. The quicker you go, the better. Good morning. I'm in Florida too, Gail. I just moved to Florida from Massachusetts. I still spend my summers up in Maine, but I am loving it. I'm in Lakeland and I'm here. My two brothers live right in the neighborhood. My son and sister live in Orlando. So I love being down here close to family, especially right now during the holidays. So yeah, it was a little chilly. It was a little like my New England weather lately. I'm going to even get a little more purple now as I go. Just take a little pink I have on my palette already, mix it with a little blue. I'm a big proponent of mixing our colors without having to have all kinds of colors. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to kind of go along close to my pink line, pretty much even just take a dry brush and sort of just scumble those colors together. Very dry. I don't have much paint on there at all. Let me grab a little more. And I'm going to get right down to the top of those mountains. The mountains are actually going to be a little purple too. So let's just go ahead. Let me just, I want to blend that a tiny bit more. I can see the little line. That's what happens when the paint starts to dry. It's a little paint there. It really is going to dry. North of Jacksonville, it's beautiful up that way. You are a little cooler too up there even though. I have visited up there and it is a nice area. I'm just thrilled to be in Florida and thrilled to have all kinds of new places to explore. I have lots of friends here. So I'm having a blast, really. I know change is hard and, moving's tough, but getting closer to family made it easy. But I do love to explore new places, and it's been thrilling. There's a really vibrant art community here, which I've discovered, and I'm having a lot of fun there. So, all right. So I'm just kind of softening that background. It's soft enough, I think. Sometimes if I'm looking at it this close, like everyone else with whatever they're creating, you're looking at it so close, you're so judgy. I try to tell people to stand back and give yourself grace because from a distance or from the camera, this looks fine. I want to get a little bit of a purple mountain in there. I'm kind of going around my wise men here the best I can. I'd be able to see a little bit through the paint to see where I've sketched them. So let's just get a little bit of a kind of a misty kind of a purple. It's going to be just mountains off in the background. They are blending with the sky a little bit, which is what I want. I don't want them to be standing out and having all the attention. Our attention is going to be on our wise men. And of course, I love painting camels, so this was perfect. Camels have such fun little personalities. And oh, hey, Tara. And Lisa, yes, I know you. I know where you are. Thanks, Pam and Janet, Teresa. I actually sketched it out first. I actually sketched it on my iPad in the Procreate app. I do sketching. I have a sketchbook and I do a lot of sketching in that. But sometimes I go into Procreate. I love the app. You can do all kinds of illustrating and all kinds of artwork in there. It's really fun. It's a very inexpensive one-time purchase, but you do need an iPad and an Apple Pencil for it. I do a lot of illustrating with it, but it's a great way for me to work out my tracers from my art classes and to resize tracers for people in the class. And something like Camel, say I look up reference photos, and there are some great sites out there for royalty-free, copyright-free images. So what I did is I went into one of my favorites, which is called unsplash.com, and you can type in whatever you're searching for and find beautifully taken professional photography that the photographers share royalty-free. And I just Googled, I just searched for some pictures of camels to get ideas. And I did the camels, and then it was pretty easy just to put the wise men in there because at first I was thinking, oh boy, how are they sitting on the camel? Where are their legs? They're mostly all draped, and I just exaggerated. So they're really just little tiny faces that you won't even hardly see, and just lots of draping, and your eye is going to put it together that they are riding on the camel. We don't have to have every little body part or anything like that. We are just sort of winging it a little bit. Okay, so I've got my purple in the background pretty much here. And I like to if it's canvas I'm using or the wood piece, I'd like to get the background covered a lot first and then kind of get into the fun things, which will be the camels and the palm trees and whatnot. So I'm just going to roughly leave that as my background there. And because it's still a tiny bit wet, if I look at it now and think, oh, I want it to even blend in more with the sky, I can just scumble a little white in there, give the mountains just a tiny bit of texture. Again, I don't want too much back there. I want it sort of to recede into the background, but I can just scumble a little bit in there. See how it's just kind of softening it a bit? Hey, Denise, good morning. Oh, Gail, you are. Yeah, that's a beautiful spot too. Okay, and so now just to cover a lot of the background up so we can jump into the fun little decorative bits, let's just get the sand under here done. It's a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe like an early morning sky. So the sand is going to have a little shadow on it. I love this buttermilk color for my sand, but I'm going to go a little darker by adding some of this little red, this little goldy color to it. But I'm going to put some deep purple shadows in it. And that will do two things. That will kind of bring the colors I'm using in the sky down. I like to have the colors that I'm using, my palette, spread out on my painting a little bit. So even if purple isn't here or there, I'm going to add it in places. I'm going to take the pinks and give little highlights maybe to the sand, just to make a little more cohesive painting, just bringing those colors here and there. I sort of thought about my color palette a little bit first. I have a few bright colors over here, only for maybe like the little jewels and the decorative bits on the tapestries that are on the camel's back. I've got just a tiniest bit of the gifts in the hands of the wise men. They're not a lot, but I do have a little bit of metallic gold that I'll pop in there for that, as well as give them like little jewels and things. And so I hope everybody had a lovely Thanksgiving, you guys. I did with all my family right here. It was fun. I hosted, but everybody brought something, which makes it not a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And we all had fun eating and playing games and all the fun things we do when we get together. So I hope you all had a lovely holiday too. And here we are jumping right into the Christmas season. So yeah, that came fast, right? And you see how I'm just kind of throwing some darks in here too, kind of like I put lights in the mountains. Just going to get the best I can. So I want to get to the fun parts. And we do have 45-minute segments here on Craft Around the Clock all day. It does show you that you can get a lot done in 45 minutes. I know it's hard to find time to do your craft and your art. And sometimes it's easy to say, well, I just don't have time. But you can just take 20 minutes even and just get started. And you can see from the creatives here how much you actually can do in 45 minutes. And I'll do what I can. I might not get every little bit finished, but you're going to get the gist of it. I've been painting a lot of palm trees since I've been in Florida, so those will be fun to paint. So do pop in and say good morning. I would love it if I could see your comments. I'll just put this brush over here, and I'm going to just get some base coating on my little wise men and my camels. Generally, I paint from the back forward, so I might just get the camels in and then work forward to the little wise men. And I do have my tracing here, but I also have some inspiration on my iPad just for some ideas for how those drapings, what those tapestries are, and that sort of thing. So let's just get some browns on our camel. And I'm going to put a little darker brown in places where I want there to be a shadow. And you can almost use your judgment, even if you, well, I do have reference photos, but if you didn't, you could almost say, I know there's a shadow under the tapestries. I know there's a shadow on the back leg. And the paint's drying a little quick because, of course, it is acrylic. We got a little tail there. But I'm just going to kind of put a little shadow in there, just so I'm not painting an entirely just one shade brown camo. Now, let's get some other browns in there. This is kind of like that camel color. So I've got a dark. I usually like to do all my elements and things in 3 shades at least, which is going to show form. I'm going to do a shadow, a highlight, and maybe a mid-tone. Even with the animals, even with people, even with whatever element. If you painted just a flat color, it will course, look flat and two-dimensional, but we can fool the eye a little bit, make it look a little three-dimensional. And as little as they are, I'm still gonna put like a little ear there. I'll put a little dot for an eye perhaps. And after I have my dark and mid-tone on, I'll come back and give them just a little highlight here and there. I'm gonna put some shading in the sand and maybe some shading under them. But see, that's a very simple little camel there. It doesn't have to be too detailed. We'll give him a little tail. And we'll do the same thing on these guys. We'll just, I know that this camel is behind this one, so he's gonna be kind of dark, that back leg there. And under the tapestry, I'm just sort of lining that up. Now, if we had a lot more time, I would probably spend a little more time finessing and blending. But once you know the basics, highlights, shadows, that sort of thing, then you can, of course, finesse a little more when you're sitting and having more time to paint. But you can see there, it's giving them a little form already. Got my dark in there. I actually think I painted over a bit of the tapestry there. So we're going to make that camel. And I have a little tail here, but I'm going to make that a little lighter brown. So let's just get this bit down around this camel here. I thought it would be nice to have a little glimpse of the nativity with just the wise men. It'd kind of be a nice, maybe a nice design for a Christmas card even, if you design your own. So like I said, I'm going to get the darker shadow and the body of the camel painted in and then go back and get some highlights in there. Oh, Melanie, thank you. Like I said, I just thought it would be, my original thought was just a dark sky with the, which is always fun to do with the spattering for the stars and that sort of thing. But I wanted a little different feel here. So that's why I chose more of a pinky, maybe like I said, early morning sky. And to make the highlight, I'm probably just going to use my mid-tone there and mix it with white. So just get a bit of a lighter brown. I'm not even washing my brush in between. I'm just wiping it off from the paper towel, going to the next color. Again, because I like the way it just sort of blends on the palette and then gives me different shades to work with. So even if it's a little darker and lighter in places, that just makes it look a little more natural. There's a little bit of a shadow here. I did kind of want a rough look to this. Sometimes I'm a little too particular and I get a little very detailed. It's hard sometimes to loosen up a bit. So I thought, well, if I have to paint this quick, it would help. I wanted it kind of like a rougher, looser and more impressionistic look. And this little camel is kind of the one we see the most because his face is close. He's a bit closest to us. Okay, so I've got their basic bodies in, but now I'm going to just go ahead and get that highlight. So I'm going to take this kind of like a camel brown, I guess. I'm going to add some white to it. So it's kind of almost like a beigey. I don't want to highlight with straight white. I want it a little warmer, a little off-white. So I'm just mixing white with that color. You can sort of see my palette a little bit there. And I just give them little highlights. Front of the face, maybe. I'm just kind of dabbing it here and there. Maybe on his face there. I can reshape things because this kind of got a crazy wonky leg there, but they're pretty wonky looking creatures. Really light on this guy's face because he's closest to us. I want him to stand out from that little lip, which is kind of cool. I'm going to mix a little darker brown for the tail and might be a little lighter on the belly there. I can really tell more by looking at it in the mirror, to be honest there. Okay, I'm going to get a color for the tail. I want it to be a little different, so I'll just mix up a little different brown. Make it a little tail here, which I will highlight as well, and maybe get darker for that little end bit that's kind of like that. You don't see it there, see it here. Get back to our highlight. Highlight that tail. What do you think? Even though they're roughly done, they look camelish. Their hoofs might be a little darker, but I don't want to accent them too much. And again, we'll put a little shadow under them probably so that they're placed in the ground. So that's a quick little way to do the camo. And see, it's pretty loose looking, but from a distance, they're camel-y. And the wise men. They're going to have some nice, colorful clothing. You can barely see their faces. So I'm just going to put a little dab. If you maybe see the side of the top of their face, under their beards. And let's get some beards on them. I'm going to do a little bit of a gray on here. Again, a lot of times I use dark and light. So if I want to do the beard a gray, I might go with a dark, kind of a gray, a white rather beard, but I'm going to do a gray first. So I'm going to just get that in there. Maybe we'll do a dark brown beard over here. Maybe black over here. Maybe like Payne's gray, kind of a dark. When I do black fur or hair or anything like that, I highlight it with a light blue. I know it's a tiny little bit that's going to need to highlight, but if you're ever painting anything that's animals or people hair and that sort of thing, I don't want to highlight with white because then it ends up looking older or gray. I use light blue for, even if it's an object and I'm giving it a highlight, I will use a light blue to highlight that with. Oh, Charlotte, thank you. I am always coming up things. And Charlotte is one of my members in my art membership. And Charlotte, today's December 1st, so I need to get the December calendar out. I've got some paintings already done, and I have to get an idea for the last one. That'll be fun. So those will be coming to you soon. So I'm just going to give that little black beard, little white highlight, a brown beard, maybe, it's tiny stuff. You don't need to do too much. And then on top of the gray, I'm just going to brush a little white so it looks a little bit lighter. So again, it's barely anything. Do we want a little eye on them? It's hardly noticeable. I'm not sure. I might just try a little dot there. Just barely there, dot. And same with my camels. I do like those camels' eyes. They have those sleepy looking eyes. I kind of do a little dot with a little line on top. Let me show you. It's so teeny. It's kind of silly to even do it. Maybe a little indication where the mouth is. They're going to have like little reins and halters on with little pom-poms and things. But can you see it's the tiniest little dots for eyes? You can barely see them. Oh, I will use my metallic gold now because I have a little some crowns on there. And I'm just going to paint in some fun, rich jewel tone colors for their draperies and things. I'll go to a smaller brush. Reds, purples, teals, turquoises. I'm not going to even think about where I'm putting it. I would probably plan a little better if I had, the time. But let's just use a assortment of the jewel colors. I love those, like an eggplant purple, a deep teal. And I'm going to just use the same colors in different places on all of them. It's like a little patchwork bit almost. And let's do this little, some of them have really a lot of drapings on there. They have little fun trims, little pom-poms, tassels, all that sort of stuff. You could get as detailed with that as you want. Let me go into some purple now. And I don't want to do the purple right up top because it's too close to the mountain color. So let's go down here and make this little drapery in that plum color. And any questions, pop them in the comments. If I don't answer them while I'm going along, I'll certainly come back to them. And I urge you guys to hang out today when you can, because there's going to be some amazing crafting being done. All day, all with the Away in a Manger theme. And what's fun is on the theme days is people, it's nice to see what people's interpretation of the theme are. It's quite a nice surprise. Now you can also, as you're painting these colors, if I grab a little of my pink and drag it into my purple, I get a little bit slightly different shade. That's always fun just to mix it up. I could get more blue in this and get more of a blue purple if I wanted, which maybe I'll do for this part just to sort of separate from his sleeve. And we have a great group here this morning. Nice Friday morning group. Almost a weekend. What do you have planned? I think, I'm not sure because I did get all my Christmas up pretty much. It was really fun. After the move, I purged a lot of things, so I need outdoor decorations still, but I did put all my inside up, my trees up. Does everybody else have their tree up? How are y'all doing with that? It's kind of a fun process for me. When I was listening to Sheila early talking about memories and the pieces that she was using, that's what's so fun about putting my tree up is I just collect ornaments when I travel, or ornaments that mean things, or gifted ornaments. And when I put my tree up, it's just so fun just remembering where things came from, what trip that was from. I have ornaments from when my son, he's 33 now, crazy, and things that he made when he was in school. It's so cool. Oh, good for you. I picked up a few gifts, but I didn't get too much. I don't need to buy a lot, but I do want to get that done soon because it's coming fast. So maybe that would be my next effort. I kind of wrap the little throws, what are you going to call it? The little tapestry things around the body of the camel. And so that's why I kind of just tuck it over a little bit like that. I am not worrying about like that red just dragged in there. It just adds a little bit of a different tone. I'm not worried about being neat and tidy. Let's see, we'll get some other colors in there. Oh my goodness, Rose, I know it's tough with the critters sometimes. I have an Irish wolfhound. She's huge. She doesn't bother the tree though. And the little one's teeny. She can't reach it. Maybe a little bit of a yellowish. Yellow's tough sometimes because it's so transparent. So I'll add a little white, maybe a little yellow ochre, and do these little head scarves. And I'm going to do this bit, brighten it up a little bit. A little bit brighter sometimes than I tend to paint, like all the colors in one, but it depends on the subject. The subject calls for these beautiful, rich colors. And I'll watch my time because I know it's, we don't have a whole lot, but that's okay. Let me do a bit of a green in here. It's like times 3. I probably could have painted one and you'd get the gist, but I really want to see what it looks like, and I can't wait to paint the little ornaments. It's going to be much smaller and simpler than this. I thought this would be better to paint on camera for you guys, though, so you could see what I was doing. Okay, so I'm giving them a tiny little thing in their hands that would represent the gifts, and then I'll put a little hand on them. They're going to not be very noticeable, but they're there. I could shade around them afterwards if I needed to. I've just put them in their hands, and while I've got my metallic, this is a little metallic gold craft paint. Doesn't show up a lot sometimes, so sometimes I just kind of paint it white first so that the gold will show up. So I think I will do that. Just take a second to dry. And a little flesh color, just a little hand that's holding the gift. But also I do put a little hand down here that's going to be maybe holding the reins to the halter on the camel. So I'll just do just a little line. I'm going to kind of come down and connect to the camel. And those halters and things are pretty decorative. So let me get them in, and then I'm going to just dab on some tassels, like I said, pom-poms. They sometimes have these around their necks, decorative thing. pretty much just like the halters you see on horses. Okay, so I know they're pretty rough, but you get the idea. And when you put all the little doodads on, which is what's fun, so you want to put some tassels. I'm going to just make dots. And then little lines coming out of them. Can mix white as I go if they start to need a little highlight. Can almost highlight at the same time. And they get little tassels. Sometimes they have little things coming up on their head, like a little decorative thing, little tassels hanging, kind of like the llamas you saw. Remember when everyone was painting the llamas and you would have all these tassels hanging places. And it's just a matter of just little decorative touches. I'm going to get some fresh white out because sometimes those will show up a little bit better. So I sometimes like give little edging to the tapestries. Dots, line work. I'm going to put some tassels here in white and then just throw a little color on them after. I've got like the little purple areas. You could take your lighter shade. And you could do like a little stripe pattern. Again, another border. Just little decorative touches, little scallop on the sleeve. I like the light teal on top of the dark. You could just do a little pattern of sorts. So you get the idea. You could go really crazy and do as detailed and as decorative as you want to get. I might highlight that sleeve a little bit so it stands out. I like it when they have the little feathers on their coming up on their heads. I'm going to throw a little decorative touches here, but then I'm going to kind of move on and do some palm trees because I want to show you how easy those are. My metallic gold I'll pop back on here onto my crowns. And maybe just a little white highlight so you can kind of see the gift there. And this, I will work a little more on the other clothing, but these guys here where it's just such a big area, I want to just give a little shading. So under this little red headdress, it would be a little shaded. I might lighten up a little on the headscarf here just to give it, we'll just do little highlights on all of them, just to give them a little form. They don't need a lot because they're teeny little bits, but for instance, the headdress there, and this, his little arm where he is like holding the reins would be a little lighter, and then just to make it look like drapey fabric, you could go in there with darks and lights. Maybe a shadow under. You get the idea for the clothing bit. So that's, I'm going to kind of leave them at that stage because you could always go ahead and just add little dobs and dabs and things. Yeah, stenciling is fun. I've done a little bit too, Melanie. When I'm doing wood signs and that sorts of things, porch leaners, it's kind of nice. And you can start with your base as the stencil and then add hand paint your details if you want to as well. I want to do some quick palm trees because I've been having a blast painting them here in Florida. And I just start with a darker brown for the trunks, and I have them a little thinner at top, and then I get a little thicker as I go. And they're pretty simple. I'm not painting them very detailed. I'm going to paint just a dark trunk and then maybe dab a little of the light camel brown, say, on them. To get a nice long stroke like this, I am adding a bit of water to my paint. And it's just always a little wider at the bottom. Sometimes I find it easier to pull it towards me like I am here. Or start thin and pressure to the brush. And I know I'm using a big wide flat brush, but on a chisel edge, you really can get a nice thin line. Oh, I can see it too. Yeah, I can see the little glow. It would be in the right place, like where the star is. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? Put the star right there and we'll have that little glow. I don't want to forget the little star. I'm going to just quickly pencil it in because it's kind of an important part of the painting. Um, I'm just going to do that as a little reminder. And so, oh, palm trees, so fun. So I'm going to get a very dark green. And I'm just going to kind of get an idea of where my fronds are going to be. I'm going to do the whole thing with this little flat brush. If you have a flat brush that has a nice chisel edge, it works perfectly, but you can also use your liner brush too. So, and I go from dark to light. And this is a little technique if you want to paint palm trees on anything. It doesn't have to be this scene. I start like that, dark brown trunk. I know it looks all the same color, but the little fronds are a dark green, just black and a very dark green mixed. And then I work lighter. So I want to start with the dark green. So I'm going to water this down because I'm going to use, I want thin paint so that I can get these little fronds just like that. But the darker the better, because then your light bits that you really want to show up will show up. So I'm just doing thin down paint, very dark, almost black. You could almost go almost to black. And I hope this just gives you another idea for a different theme for nativity, of just taking some of, you could do little separate paintings. You could do some with the shepherds and some with just the different elements, and then just one with Mary, Joseph, and the baby, and kind of hang them together would be kind of a nice idea. And you'll notice I am thinning my brush paint down often. I don't want it to drag. I want to have a nice flowy brush stroke, but also if it's thin like that, it dries quicker as well. So when I want to layer all my lights on top of here, I can do that without waiting too long. So there's the basic. And already it looks pretty good. If I was painting this more nighty, I suppose I could almost leave them dark and shadow like that. Yeah, it is. Thank you guys. So I want to get lighter green now. So I just make my own with a phthalo green and some nice primary yellow, and I get a nice light yellow. Yellows are transparent though, and they're hard to show. So if it doesn't, I always add a little tint of white. Hey, Debbie. Hello, good morning. And I'm just going to go right over what I did. I'm not really even paying attention to where I put the strokes. I'm not struggling on where things are going. I'm really just putting light over dark, letting some dark show through, covering some. It's just a layering process. I've done some really big, huge paintings of palm trees lately, and they've been a blast to paint because I love the texture in the fronds. Oh, I didn't even put any off of that little one, but that's okay. We'll just start with the light here. Actually, sometimes when I'm painting a big, huge close-up, if one frond is closer to me, I'll paint that with a lot of really light highlights and let the ones in the back sort of be a little darker. I'm not sure. Did anybody see my Santa I painted last? Oh, it was on Monday probably. Was it Monday? I forget. It's been, and I just about got him down, but I then finished him up later and posted a picture, and I'll grab him if we have a second to show you how he ended up. It was really a lot of fun. He's right behind me, so I'll grab him at some point. Because we have all the time in the world. We have 8 whole minutes left. Tina, thank you. I try to do that. That's why I love about teaching is I have seemed to have a knack to get people, even if you've never painted before, tiny little baby steps. Now remember, we are speeded up here. Usually I'm a little more careful and would go along and explain things even more. So if you check out my socials, you will see I have some classes over on YouTube, free tutorials and things, and I just did a paid workshop, which is still available. And then I have my art membership, which is really fun because we really get to know one another. It's a fabulous community, lots of painting if you want, and lots of things to pick from. At least you can paint still lifes or landscapes or animals or whatever your thing is. But see, now that last coat, it didn't look like much from here, but Look at that last coat, how that sort of just jumps out at you. All that is getting lighter and lighter with the green. And now for this last highlight, I added white. That really makes it pop. And that's what I'll do when I go along here. Like I'll really add some more highlights to these things and make them really pop. It's just hard, in 45, but I do want to give you some projects that have some substance to them and give you some instruction. Like even if you weren't painting the nativity and you were wanting to paint a beach scene, now you might have a little basis for palm trees. Okay, so I just have a dark trunk. You don't need much, but I might just take a little bit. I just take a little bit of a lighter brown, and I probably would pick one side, maybe the right, and I just kind of go down and just hit it. And I try not to be precise and even, but I just get some light on there. That sun. So say we have a dark tone, a dark brown on there, right? Now we got a little bit of a mid-tone. And just because I always do a little one extra bit, I'll take a little white with that brown. And I can maybe just hit it in a few places. And sometimes just little rough brush strokes kind of come off as that texture of the bark that works for a palm tree. So I think that's all I would do for those guys. And I want to get a little bit of shading in my sand because the palm trees are just kind of there. I'm going to do like a little green, little palm bush there of sorts. But let's see what we can do about getting some shading on here. Like I said, I wanted to do some purpley shading. Kind of a reddy purple. I'm not sure how this is going to look, but and that's pretty dark, but that's okay. I want to get it in there. I like to get elements sort of planted by giving them little shadows. And then because it's a sandy texture, let's, I'm just going to plug my laptop in, make sure I don't lose power. That would be awful if we just at the end lost power, right? Let me just plug that in just in case. All right, there we are. So I'm just going to scumble some in here. I'm not leaving it like this, but I'm scumbling it to get it there. I'm going to dry my brush off. I'm just going to wash it because I'm going to go into a lighter shade. Hey, Teresa, thank you, guys. It's quick, like I said. But if you step back, it looks like something. I will finesse it a bit after, and then I'll post pictures. But I'm surprised I got even this much done. So I'm going back to that original sand color and a little more white. My palette ends up a big, huge mess, but that's kind of good because it shows I mixed all my colors there and it's not all just little neat piles because then you'd have too precise of a painting. So a little texture, I'm getting a little bit of a lighter shade even of that sand color here and there. And it's just kind of a push and pull, getting it the way you want to look. I want it kind of rough and textured because it's sand. And a little more of that, maybe a little of the purple mixed with the sand color will give us a little bit of a mid-tone. Yeah. Oh, I like that color. It's kind of a buffy. So you are getting the idea. I get it, like I said, lighter in some places, so it's like a little shadow some places, and then you get little with some maybe the starlight or the moonlight is hitting it in the little places. It's kind of rough looking. I wanted a rough looking painting though. So, oh hey Darla, thank you. Where are we? Look, we've got 3 whole minutes, so I'll play around with them a little bit still. But let me show you, in case any of you did see my Santa on Monday, I did finish him up. We got him almost done, but I finessed the face a little more. Let me just show you that because we only have a few minutes left. So you see this, I'm going to finish that up. I just touch up a little details, blend a little more, brighten the star up, put a little glitter on here maybe, and I'll post a picture. And let's see. So I will show you how we finished up this guy. So he was a little rougher when we left him, but I finessed the face a little bit. And look at on the suit. What I used was and it turned out nice. So let me show you. You know, these tulip slick paints for the fabric. I wanted texture. Didn't want just to leave his little outfit just the blue. So all I did was take this little thing and do little spiral designs. And I also used some white on his beard and mustache, textured the slick paint. And I used, you saw me do modeling paste for the fur. So if you go back, you can look for the recording of this guy. He was actually a gnome cutout, but I made him into Santa. I want to thank you guys again for joining me this morning. Got just about a minute left, and I'd love it if you ran over and just popped on my page and gave me a follow. And if you haven't painted yet and you want to, I'm here, and I would love to, get you started on your painting journey. So do keep Craft Around the Clock up, and a good way to find the next presenter is to refresh the page. Sometimes you don't see them just pop on. It's the slick paint. And it was the iridescent, which is kind of a little more see-through. It's not a big, heavy, solid line, which I kind of liked a little bit. It was a little see-through. So it was a little kit, and the few iridescent colors came in with it. Hey, thank you, Mary. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Patty. That's much appreciated. As you know, you can always add something into the comments if you have a question later. Thanks, Charlotte. I'm going to pop off so you can see the next person. Thank you. Have a fabulous weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.